JL Cauvin joins me now. Great to see you, and congratulations. You have some great news, and I am happy to share it. Really, seriously, not a joke. No joking.
No. That was more not a joke is a Bidenism.
Oh,
hey,
right.
Man, got great news. No, I'm not kidding. I remember I spoke. I got hired. I got a job offer on Friday from this organization, NICA, which basically the job will be representing, families and people in the Bronx and helping them stave off eviction. We live in a world of housing crisis. Basically, I mean, your listeners, the last time I was on, I spoke very passionately about a book I had just finished called There Is No Place for Us, which is about the working homeless and the housing crisis in America in a much more nitty-gritty fashion than, let's say, Ezra Klein's Abundance, which I also read and enjoyed. But this was much more of a tangible, urgent sort of book, not from the policy perspective, but from the families and individuals suffering and living, a knife's edge from poverty and homelessness. And so after I read that book, I spoke of it on your show. The author, I guess, had a friend who is a listener of yours who shared the episode. He wrote to me, thanked me for the words I said. So I had him on Rain on Your Parade. And oddly enough, about a week after I finished the book, I was saying to my girlfriend, I'm a 46-year-old lawyer with like this very intermittent record of legal work on my, I haven't really built up an expertise or a practice because 3 years here, then some comedy, then part-time work, then 4 years at a firm, all good money and like helping me support my comedy career and live in a comfortable way while not depending year in, year out only on comedy.
Right.
So I said to her, I said, I have a law degree from a good school, but I'm 46. I haven't developed an expertise. I'm sort of out of practice in certain respects in terms of litigation and courtroom work, obviously. And I said, how would I even get involved in in this field? Like, do I just go, hey, can I volunteer, or can I work as like a low paid intern to learn the ropes and get some skills and really start to learn this area so I can be of help? And this legal service that sends out job postings like multiple times a week, within a week of me finishing this book, I swear, they posted about an organization looking to hire staff attorneys to help with an organization in the Bronx that helps like low income individuals stave off eviction and represent them in housing court. And
Neighborhood Association for Intercultural Affairs is the name of the organization that you're describing. Go ahead.
And I thought, well, that's a little too on the nose. like that. Do you know what I mean? It was like something out of a comedy.
You said before we started, it's kind of it felt kind of divine in that you had just read this book and then you see
and was looking for some, like, how do I even get started? And it was like, ding dong, the bell rings. And it's like the U.S. mail service going like, we have a delivery for you. It's a job opportunity in the field that you're discussing right now. So I applied and figured maybe I wouldn't get it. And even in the job offer, they were like just seeking people with at least 1 year of litigation experience. So there's going to be a lot of training and a lot of like molding you to the work. But I thought, usually a job like this might have said seeking somebody with at least 5 years in the landlord tenant space and whatnot. So I applied, got like, many weeks later after going like, hey, I guess I didn't, I guess I just got lost in the shuffle or they weren't interested. I get an interview. And then I found out Friday and they said, you'll hear by July 11th, but so it gets to July 11th and the whole week I'm going, well, I definitely didn't get it. Like it is July, like they could have let me know Tuesday or Wednesday, like a rolling admissions kind of thing. And then I got an email after lunch on Friday saying they were offering me the job. And the irony of it is, it's not big law firm money, certainly, but it's more money than I've been making with benefits. And I'm doing something that I really want to do. I hope I'm good. I hope I do a good job, but it's like, it's just, and it's in my, my home borough of the Bronx. And, globalizing the intifada has to start somewhere. Am I right, Pete? No, I'm only saying that because obviously Mamdani talked about housing, being like the signature issue, affordability and housing being such a signature component of his campaign. And, it's, I don't know if I've ever felt in my 20 years since, becoming a lawyer, ever an attachment to the work or a real utility, and that's including as a prosecutor. I don't want to say that was meaningless work, but I was a low-level prosecutor. But this is actually
this is different. It's such
tangible and real hands-on trying to help people.
And you are going to, and you already have throughout your life. And I've just put a donate link to the organization, and you can donate as I just did. And in the comment, it says, do you want to leave a comment? And I said, for hiring one of the best, smartest, most passionate people. And then I wrote somebody else's name.
But, of course, Christian Finnegan.
Dr. Aaron Carroll. No, I wrote for hiring J.L. Cauvin attached to my donation. So maybe that's a good thought, so they understand.
And then they fire me because that looks like somebody bribed them to hire me.
I think it's great. Yeah, it's a really, really impressive bribe. It was $9, but so it was more. But
thank you. That's nice.
I'm very excited about this. I think it's great for a lot of reasons. But again, people want to learn more. The Neighborhood Association for Intercultural Affairs. That's where JL is now going to be working to help keep families in their homes in New York City. Our primary focus is geared towards single adults, families, and seniors who are indigent and or homeless or at risk of losing their homes. NICA, am I saying it right? The acronym is a nonprofit, multi-service, family-oriented housing and human service agency that provides culturally sensitive services to children, youth, seniors, and families. That is so wonderful. And I hope people will donate. And I hope people will. I look forward to learning more about the work and in some way becoming more involved, as I hope, a lot
of. If there's a spike in homelessness after I get hired in the Bronx, let's just blame funding cuts and not my poor legal work.
Well, that's one of those things, by the way, which is trying to prove a negative. So often when people talk about,
and these are, just to be clear, as much as I joke around, these are the final jokes I will probably ever have about this work. Because I'll be working there, and I've always maintained, people have always said, "Oh, do you joke about your job?" And I say, no. I talk about being a DA 10 years after leaving the office, but there's no, so I'm making a little bit of a joke, but it's serious work, and it's not something I will discuss once I'm doing it, obviously.
I'm sure you're very principled, seriously, and moral-minded guy. But at the same time, I'm sure you'll still make jokes about the myths about poverty and homelessness that people will make, because you'll have more evidence of those, tripes that we've heard for years, and you'll be able to kind of joke on it. But I think it's really one point I wanted to make talking about this organization is people always look at anti-poverty nonprofits, or more likely policies, laws, and they say, see, they don't work. They're failing because people are still in poverty, or poverty has gone up ever since we passed these poverty policies. You hear Paul Ryan and Republicans saying this forever. Certainly they talk about it in terms of the new bill, but it's just such a tired and ridiculous thing to say, because of course the truth is, if those policies and organizations weren't doing the work they're doing, it would be far worse, but You never get to make that argument. And
as Brian Goldstone said in his book, and I got to tell you, if J.L. Cauvin praising the book, applying for jobs, and altering his life as a result of reading that book is not enough to get you to borrow or buy the book, I don't know what it would take. But I think one of the things Brian said in our interview is keeping people from becoming homeless is the easy, in a sense, it's not easy work, but it's the easiest way to sort of lower costs is finding ways to keep people in their homes is still a cheaper alternative than providing for the homeless. So stopping evictions is an important cog in the housing crisis. And like you said, much like I think that has happened with Democrats in general in politics, is you don't get credit for the wins that just keep things as they are. You know, it's like putting someone in a home is like, that's a win.
Right.
Keeping 100 people in their homes is also a humongous win.
I would argue government rarely gets credit for any of the wins, even the outright wins that are just binary. You can see this thing is no longer there, you know, like eradicating measles. That's an outright win.
Well, that obviously was a lie because we have measles again. So obviously we were sold a bill of goods. We always had measles. We had measles, and I'm proud to say that they're back.
Rogan just said that Lyme disease was created in a lab by humans and somehow leaked, when in fact, apparently Lyme disease is 60,000 years old.
Right, but that doesn't refute the fact that it was leaked from a lab, a Neanderthal lab.
What do you think about this? I'm being a little serious. There's a disease caused by a tick bite called alpha-gal. And when you get alpha-gal, you have a meat allergy, like instantly if you get it. And you can't eat meat. You just can't do it anymore. What if you convinced MAGA and anti-vaxxers to get that vaccine because, God forbid, they can't eat meat anymore? How about that? How do we wrap that one up in a...
It's... yeah, I think you can. I still, they just wouldn't believe it. I think they wouldn't believe it. And then they'd say, I'm going to eat meat anyway.
All right. Well, I want to talk about a bunch of other things. And I also want to interview Brian Goldstone as soon as possible. So pass along his information if you don't mind. And I'll read the book and I'll interview him. And I'm just so excited about this news. I think it's great for a lot of reasons. And I'm also excited that you'll be talking more in depth about it and joking about your path to it on your show, Rain On.
This week's episode is going to be focused a lot on the Epstein files. But yeah, the show's going great. Producer Mike is back. I already just enjoyed having his presence back, even though I think the few episodes I did without him were very strong. But oh shit, I forgot. I had a.
Well, I just watched that episode and / listened to it, and I was really happy that he's back. I think he brings a lot to it, and I'm psyched. And you were going to say you're going to talk about Epstein, but I want you to talk about it now here. I'm pretty obsessed with it. Let me just make this point about the whole Epstein controversy and where it's at right now with the MAGA civil war, as it's often called, when we see a split and then we maybe overreact. But
Confederate on Confederate crime.
I was just watching a clip from your friends over at Pod Saves America, and they were saying the Epstein thing right now, this is Trump's Katrina.
It tells you a lot about. Okay, so I'm gonna tip a little bit of what I'm going to discuss.
This is the biggest threat, they said, to his power, administration, support.
Yeah, doesn't that say everything you need to know about MAGA though? Like I have a joke on an old album about Pizzagate where I go, credit to the one guy who showed up to Comet Pizza with a gun because he believed it. And what would you do if you genuinely believed there was a child sex ring in your neighborhood under a pizza shop? You'd go and do something. Like, I'm admitting the crazy.
Well, that's what I said too about January. Yes. If you thought the election was stolen, I would have gone. I was about to go to do something when they were going to steal everybody in Detroit's vote and overturn it in 2020.
Now, there is an element of who's susceptible, just like hypnosis, who's susceptible to these ridiculous accusations. Somebody probably with some deficiencies in their moral core. But no one else went to Comet Pizza. And I made a joke about that. And I said, so you guys are just psychos and also not actually willing to do anything to save the children that you think are being abused. That seems to be the worst of both worlds. You're delusional yet moral weaklings. And I feel like that's sort of the Epstein thing is, to me, and we talked about helping children and children's safety and gun violence versus trans sports. What's the bigger threat to children? Yeah. And I think the Epstein thing is just so part and parcel of the Trumpian and also the MAGA view of like quick fix heroes. I want to be a hero in the easiest possible way. The rich people are all part of a cabal, and we've got to somebody expose it. But I'm shouting it from my social media accounts. I'm a hero. I'm part of the solution. I'm not doing anything, but you do something, and I am a hero for exposing this conspiracy. And the fact is, feeding children is difficult work. Educating children is difficult work. Housing, making sure kids aren't in poverty, that's painstaking long-term work. But claiming that one rich guy was abusing kids on an island and like some famous people were with him, that's easy. Like that you can pin all your heroism onto that kind of quick fix. Just like Trump's big beautiful bill. He wanted a big beautiful bill because he wants to do as little work as possible. He doesn't want to meet and legislate and negotiate and he wants everything there. There's a sort of ADD quick fix hero kind of mindset. They want to do something big and quick.
Well, that's because there's a reason for that. I think that's a really interesting diagnosis about the kind of MAGA mentality. And I would argue that if he wanted to make everything easier, he wouldn't have destroyed every trade deal and tried to renegotiate trade deals that take years to negotiate, in 90 of them in 90 days. But he didn't realize that, because that too falls into what I'm about to say about the binary that is created, perfect segue, by right-wing media. It's this or that. And then people have no nuance. We've all talked about this in their arguments and their thought processes about difficult problems and things, but it's best illustrated right now because Don Bongino and Kash Patel on their podcasts and YouTube shows and everywhere they went were screaming about the Epstein list, which likely never existed because it was made up. That idea was made up, that there was a list, and it just became a truth because people repeated it over and over. They demanded it. Then they went to work in government, and it all falls apart because when you're on the radio, when you're on YouTube, you just create boogeymen and you create binaries, black hats, white hats, bad and good, especially with something as complicated as immigration. All these people are criminals. No, they're not. The vast majority of them are working. Anyway, the point being, that's how they think, because that's the commentary, their favorite host. That's how they position it. Every day, as long as I've been studying and working in media, specifically in right-wing media, make it this or that. I see a lot of progressives doing it now as well, but there's still a lot of nuance with all the big issues that we're facing. But that's not how they like it. They want it spoon-fed. They want to know who to like. And just now, I just found out my local town councilman apparently drove around, or had somebody drive around on July 4th and keep track of who had American flags flying. And it's another way to create an in-group and an out-group. And more importantly, you don't want people in government doing that based on a flag you have flying. So
you almost became Seinfeld there for a second.
Yeah, what's a flag flying? I got all these flags. What's with flags? They fly, sometimes they don't.
Hey, solid. I think it's
back to Epstein. What does it mean?
Yeah.
What will it matter?
I think Bongino is funny to me because I think, like all these people, yes, it's an honor to serve in a job that you don't deserve and is well out of your depth. Deputy fucking director of the FBI, please. But now I think he sees an off-ramp to more money, which is it's either me or Pam Bondi.
Well, his reputation, though, he can't make more money if he goes along with the government line. He knows what
he knows this is temporary.
Because of the myth he created, his reputation would be destroyed.
But he has an off-ramp now that might lead to more money where he can be like, I left because of Pam Bondi. Everybody subscribe to my Patreon. I'm the guy who left the Trump administration because I believe so strong. I'm more MAGA than Trump. I am the most MAGA, and come join me and we'll discuss the files they wouldn't let you see.
Does it work? What about Trump saying, why are we still talking about this? What about the rage from MAGA? Is it his... the worst thing that has happened for him? Is it his Katrina, as they say on PodSafe? Does it matter next week?
Even if it is his Katrina, did that do anything for George Bush? He was a lame duck. So like Donald Trump governs like he doesn't have another election to run for. Like, that's the thing people don't seem to understand. He is in this for revenge and grifting. There is no third agenda where I have to make my people happy. As much as he might want to, of course, I want to keep my voters happy. He doesn't need to. And at the end of the day, look, he will abandon anybody, including his supporters, if self-preservation is at stake. He is in this for money and for revenge. There's no third agenda. There's no Trump agenda of policy or delivering for my supporters. He's not delivering for his supporters. Like, he's actively doing things that will hurt his supporters through legislation. They can only really process the conspiracy theory because that's fast food. That's immediate content right now that they understand and want answers to. They don't care right now that their insurance is going to go away or that their energy bills will go up. But like, he is not governing like he gives a shit about them, because he doesn't give a shit about them. So to make this his Katrina, I think George W. Bush, for all his flaws, I'm sure he didn't like Kanye West saying he doesn't pay.
Forget Bush, forget Katrina. What does this mean for him based on what you're saying? Because it seems like no matter how bad even a core thing gets overturned, he was the no war guy. He bombs Iran. They loved it. People thought,
He lost Dave Smith.
He lost Dave Smith. He just also lost, at least temporarily, Andrew Schultz, the comedian.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that tomorrow as well. But when Trump shocks the black scent off of white podcasters, he's really shocked the shit out of them. When you start pronouncing your R's at the end of words again, as a hip hop adjacent white guy,
Andrew Schultz does that.
No, watch his endorsement of Trump is very like, I'm about the dude who's getting pussy. All right, bro? Like, come on, for real. Then all of a sudden Trump does that. And it's like, are we the stupid ones? It's very much Justin Timberlake before and after Nipplegate. It's like, hey, come here, girl. Come on, girl. Let me get some of that. I am shocked and appalled at what happened with Janet Jackson. Thank you. When the black scent gets slapped off of you, you've been.
I didn't remember the before and after with Timberlake, but I'm glad that you performed it for us. So, moreover, what?
Nothing. I am that cynical. Yes, okay. It will upset some. The people who might suffer are J.D. Vance or other Republicans down the line. Donald Trump, it doesn't matter.
What matters is owning the libs and dividing, like hating them. And as long as we hate him, no matter what, they're not going to stop hating him.
I don't even think it matters. Yeah. To him, he is making billions of dollars. He is extorting, and I wrote this, these are not tariffs. These are extortions of foreign governments. He's extorting foreign governments. He's doing crypto grifting at a 9-figure level. Of course he would love his supporters to like him. But the idea that he's saying, why was Epstein was a real nasty person. Why are we even talking about him? He's obviously nervous about this, and he's not going to release anything, and he's going to bear the consequences of that, and it's not going to impact his money. It's not going, and at the end of the day, if he has to choose, if it comes down to me, my money, or me and my supporters, it's him and his money. So worst case scenario, you know what? They really soured on Trump at the end, and then they'll get mad at Democrats when all the things come to pass that he did substantively.
I think you're probably right that the short answer, it doesn't matter, but I will, for sake of argument, because it's the one thing I pretty firmly believe.
It might draw down voter turnout in the midterms, but I think Democrats are going to have good midterms anyway.
I think you're right about that if we have midterms, if they're not suspended. But the idea that the most influential right-wing talkers are not going to leave it alone because it's a really easy thing and it gets ratings.
Yeah.
To me, it matters. It matters what happens in the news cycle. And sometimes we're all focused on the same thing, Iran, Israel. Sometimes it's MAGA and then the rest of us on Earth One. But most of us in the rest of the world are focused on these more serious consequential issues like the bill, the disaster in Texas, tariffs, many other things that affect our lives directly. But in MAGA world, if those Megyn Kellys, Steve Bannons, Charlie Kirks, Benny Johnsons, the biggest MAGA influencers continue to talk about this because, again, it gets great ratings. It's such an easy talker. It stays in their news cycle and that siloed news cycle for sure.
That's what's great about them, though, is that they operate the same way as Trump. Neither of them are actually fans of the other. There is a symbiotic relationship that, in other words, but at the end of the day, money, cash rules everything around MAGA, cream, dollar bill, y'all. The podcasters will pick Trump over everything except their Patreon subscribers and their donations. Donald Trump will choose his fans over everything, that adoration, that love, that support, except over his own safety and money. So like they're approaching this like standoff, it seems, where it's like, well, Trump is my second favorite thing after money. And Trump is like, I love MAGA more than anything except money. So if we get to that point, which we may be approaching, where it's like, do I support Trump or do I keep pushing the conspiracy theory that pays my bills and my mortgage? I'm going to keep going with the conspiracy theory. If it comes down to that final level.
That's the insidious bet they made, all of them, when they got in line with him in 2016.
Right.
Because some of them never did. They're the never Trumpers. But many of them sold out on everything they ever believed. The one that stands out in my mind most is Mark Levin. But, I mean, all of them who did. And so this is a similar bet that they're going to make within the fact that he's the president. Do I double down on Epstein and keep doing, as you just said, I like the kind of delta of money versus.
And that's why they're bashing Pam Bondi. Like Pam Bondi is the stand-in. She's a woman, so that's convenient. And
some analysis which seemed pretty interesting that who knows if the president takes this into consideration. But at this point, Pam Bondi has committed a whole lot of crimes for him and done a whole lot of unethical things and much more as his attorney general. Like letting her go, given all she knows, putting her on the wrong side of him. Maybe he doesn't want to do that. I don't know.
But wonderful job by America as always. And it's just, to me, it's funny when somebody like Andrew Schultz says, this isn't what I voted for. Okay, well, you didn't pay attention then, because I could have said, I voted for Donald Trump to be an honorable person who cares about the poor. And somebody would say, well, you're dumb because clearly he doesn't believe in any of those things. And to say, I didn't vote for this, well, you voted for Trump. So you voted for exactly what he's doing because that's what he said he was going to do. And I don't know. Like, I just think when things like, what's so great about Trump, in a way, Trump and MAGA and his administration, is the chickens come home to roost so quickly. It's like, fuck FEMA. 3 weeks later, we fucked up. We got a lot of dead people, a lot of damage. FEMA, actually, FEMA's not so bad. It's like comical. And yet it's not. That should be, I know, and it's been covered. That has been covered by the Times and things like that. But to me, that should be a question that is haunting them. And what Trump is doing kind of brilliantly for stupid people, which is his constituency, the greedy and the stupid, he's doing like a support the troops kind of jujitsu, where it's like if you criticize the war, like in Iraq, the troops, you're against the troops. He's doing the thing. I think our rescue people have done a great job. Yeah, nobody's criticizing the person saving 100 people from drowning.
He did the same thing in the bombing of Iran. He's like, you're criticizing the pilots. And like Peter Alexander, whoever's like, what? No, and it was the one time where I saw the journalist, because he kept using that line saying, you don't support the troops. Very rarely do they get defensive, but I feel like a couple of like old school White House reporters like, Kelly O'Donnell, I think, was one of them. They're like, okay, listen, that's not true. I do support. That's not what I'm saying at all. How dare you that nonsensical?
But that's his new move is to be like, hey, why did you say you wanted to eliminate FEMA? How dare you disrespect our people at FEMA? What?
Did you see like that Coast Guard guy with the mustache that apparently like saved, or whatever it was, National Guard saved like hundreds of people?
Yeah.
I so wanted that guy to be, after all the support he was getting from MAGA, as he should from everybody. I so wanted him to be like, oh, by the way, I'm trans.
That would be
after all the praise from.
I actually edited a video I put out. I decided not to go there, and it's gone kind of a little viral. It's got like 200,000 views on Facebook, 100,000 views on Instagram. Like Trump going to Texas for the flood. And the one thing I chose not to, I took this part out, but I said at one point, and although you have a lot of the campers, the girls, they died, and that's sad, but at least there were no trans girls with them when they died. Because we kicked it, because it's a girls' camp. So we said no sports with the girls. So you're welcome for that. So it's it's nice. Your daughters are dead, but they died doing what they love, which is not playing sports against trans girls. And I took that out because even though that's very dark humor and kind of on point, I said, we don't need to bring the girls into it, period.
Well, it's risky, but I hadn't seen that video. I saw your Trump impression videos of him attacking Rosie O'Donnell, which was hilarious.
Yeah, and that's another, it's like, once again, if you're so ridiculous in your disregard for the Constitution, who cares? He does the whole thing where it's like
disregarding the Constitution by attacking Rosie O'Donnell.
No, I'll take away her I'll revoke her citizenship. Like
I almost wanted to pose that to MAGA. Like, what do you think of this? Do you think that the president should just be able to revoke citizenship based on criticism? And they would all be totally fine with it. Just like you can put someone in jail because they wrote a pro-Palestinian piece.
Like January 6th people, that would be wouldn't that make sense if their citizenship was revoked? Like, when the next president comes in, it's like, well, you attacked our election. You basically.
Well, there's a difference. It's all. None of it is legal to revoke the Constitution based on a crime they commit. You can murder everyone and still keep your citizenship. You can also write whatever you want and keep your citizenship.
Of course. I'm saying under the I don't like Rosie O'Donnell standard, so I can revoke her citizenship. That's such a low bar that I'm like, well, then certainly attacking the Capitol would clear that bar.
That was something that happened over the weekend. If people don't know, he attacked Rosie O'Donnell. You also had a funny video of his attacking the new Superman movie, which was really
sure. I will say this. I don't think you've talked to Professor Siegel about this guy, but that guy Emile Bove, who kind of looks like Roy Cohn 2.0, and he's playing the part also.
Yeah, he looks like he just crawled out of the sea. Is how I see him. Like he's still not done.
I hope he doesn't get. I really like him getting confirmed as an appeal, like one step from the Supreme Court, would be really bad.
Whistleblower has made it less likely he'll get confirmed, but
you never. I mean, if Trump calls in, primary threats or whatever, to get, because he'll take it as personal. It's his attorney.
Yeah, it would be the Senate confirming him, and so that would be less controversial than voting for the bill they just passed. So I do want to ask you about that because you've had plenty of time to talk and think about it as you did on your last episode, which I thought was great. But this, to me, this is the thing, the news item, the event that has transpired in the last couple of weeks that deserves the most attention because we don't talk about these things. The news cycle moves, relevancy matters, obviously in media, but in our lives.
Also, my trademark, justice matters.
Also, justice matters. And so we don't talk about these policies and how they affect their lives. And it hasn't also affected our life yet. It will. As a matter of fact, they wrote it specifically so it wouldn't remove Medicaid for a lot of people until after the midterm elections, of course. And we understand how that works. But what are your thoughts and how do we continue to talk about this and keep in the headlines what they have just done to destroy America so much more than they did before based on this legislation alone?
As I've made the case, and obviously with my new job, I'm not discussing any other things I might do. Because obviously I want to commit to this job, but I will say this, the idea that I've been saying, which is somebody who can reach lots of people, educate lots of people, and engage lots of people is a must for the Democrats. And I'm talking beyond a Jasmine Crockett or an AOC. I'm talking somebody like a Pete Buttigieg, unless some, half white knight arrives in Congress in the next couple of years to take on this role. A Pete Buttigieg as like an educator in chief via the DNC on social media, like creating here's what the bill does. Here's why they're not doing this. I'm talking every independent, left of center, anti-MAGA person, subscribe, share the videos. Like there needs to be that kind of a commitment, I think, at this point, because we are an underengaged, undereducated, underengaged, really, populace right now in terms of having Democrats have to do the job of, and it's a thankless task in many ways, of doing the right thing, informing and educating the people, and also exciting them. Whereas MAGA needs to just really excite, and usually in a negative way.
Yeah,
we have to do all three. I feel like
this in somewhat succinct way of saying the difference between what MAGA versus not progressives, not like the rest of us, how we think about news and politics. I feel like a Pete Buttigieg would be a good person that maybe he would view it beneath him. Maybe he wouldn't. Maybe he would jump at the opportunity to become like the official spokesman of policy against MAGA. But this bill is a nightmare. I read through like the New York Times. They had a 2-page printout of basically all the things it does. And all the cuts are horrible, but then I found it so darkly humorous that all the military spending, and the only line item with zero was Inspector General. Oh, wow.
Like zero, like billions, hundreds of billions, tens of billions. Inspector General, nothing.
New York Times breakdown and many others had a basically a way of showing what they're spending more on and what they're cutting. And in this case, they're not spending more on inspectors general, apparently, because they don't.
Right. It was just funny to see like everything in the military gets more, except people who will check on corruption or wasteful things.
When a politician advocates openly to remove all anti-corruption resources, personnel, departments, including those that are going after foreign countries, that's when people that's a real when people show you who they are. Like
it's called a tell in the gaming world.
So is there anything specifically about the bill? All love what you're saying and really important about the kind of communication about it and so on. But I mean, one specific thing I'll just say, unless you've got something about healthcare, any number of the other things, it resources ICE and Homeland Security so much more. And so the question I ask you is, how much does this bill matter? You talked about communicating about it, keeping it in the news. But the other thing that's obviously happening is so many other things. The top line one usually is the case, is anything that has imagery. So you've got the flooding or a natural disaster, but usually what has more eyes on that is any kind of violence, any kind of street crime on video. So the top line news item continues to be, it would seem, across all media platforms and political ideologies, is these deportations and the videos that go along with it. So now that this bill is sourcing so much more ICE, my question to you is, seeing what you saw just last week or today on videos of this and kids and handcuffs. I mean, it just gets worse by the day. It's just so horrifically insidious and grotesque. And now they're going to have more money to do it all. What do you make of that? That's kind of, these deportations kind of keeps the bill and MAGA in our sights. And it would seem that most Americans don't like it.
Yeah, no, and I hate to say it. I said Tom Homan. Now I know I'm missing, it's a sports and history joke that I'm making, but I called Tom Homan Bull Connor in the streets and Lou Holtz in the dentist seat. Thank you.
Wow. You got to know how former Notre Dame Lou Holtz talks, but he's got a real speech issue, and you're never afraid to criticize the way someone looks or sounds.
Yeah. I mean, we somebody I've often said that if I ever got into politics, I view myself as a left-wing Quint from Jaws. I'm not there to, he's the guy who scratches the chalkboard and just sits there and tells them in very gruff terms that he'll get the shark for them. But he's not like a town fisherman, like, hey guys, let's get. And I feel like there needs to be a little bit of that in the Democratic Party. Somebody who's just willing to once in a while kicking the bad guy in the nuts is not a de facto bad thing.
That's your dumbest analogy. And I just watched some of Jaws, and I just don't even know. It's so deep. It's the Quint thing. But I do.
It's a great movie. 50th anniversary, by the way.
Great.
But I like Tom Homan. Yes. And I don't want this for people, but if he's going to do it, let him be the Bull Connor to this movement. Donald Trump is really the Bull Connor, but like Tom Homan, you're a gruff, unattractive, inarticulate ghoul. Be the face of heartless America. Not the heartland. This is heartless America. What happened to the heartland? Like, start using terminology like that. They don't represent the heart of America. They represent, the heart disease of America. And it is a good thing, and I'm putting that in air quotes for somebody just listening, if it keeps this, I'd rather see people not getting abused and detained and treated violently.
Yeah, but
if there's no third solution, if it's, they televise this, let the horror be seen. And as always with Republicans, and Trump voters are part of that movement, this idea of, well, I didn't think they were going to do this, or, oh, well, I'm in love with an immigrant and I didn't think they were coming for her, or, oh, my son-in-law is a good immigrant. We thought they were going after criminals. You are so full of shit. I'm sorry. You've tricked yourself. At best case scenario, you fooled yourself. Yeah. Because this idea of Donald Trump being some soldier of integrity who's like, we're going to get the bad guys, we're going after the bad guys. He's a racist who wants to get all immigrants out. Like, how much did you have to ignore to like placate yourself and make yourself believe that like your guy was only going to go after people you didn't like?
The development this week that got a lot of attention was when Tom Homan basically said, we can go after anybody we want based on their appearance and behavior and the context now. So
then he slapped his "Play Like a Gestapo Today" sign. That's more Notre Dame Nazi sort of. These are real good jokes if people are getting them.
It's a real, they are. No, it's so good, and a really, really good joke. I will say that. But that's basically broken windows policing, stop and frisk on a federal level, and we did that in New York and other cities, and it didn't work.
And I would even say it's more stop and frisk than broken windows, because to be fair about broken windows, just on the theoretical level, no, it was about low level crime, but it wasn't about you look like a criminal, at least in theory. Stop and frisk is much more of the you look like somebody who's a criminal. And that was, New York proved it. When they had, hundreds of thousands of stops that were like nothing. And then when they eliminated stop and frisk, there wasn't this big increase in crime at all.
Yeah.
Proving that it was like, and people boogeymaned, de Blasio on wanting to get rid of it.
It's one of these things, by the way, which is we always lose as human beings with a kind of moral compass. Like, we never win. We lose both ways, but it's just like torture. It's like I would support stop and frisk if I thought it worked, even if it was racist. I wouldn't, but a lot of people would, even if it worked. I would support torture if it worked, even though it's terrible. But the truth is, they generally don't work. And we try these policies wondering, will they work to stop crime or to get confessions out of terrorists about, we try them, they fail. And then we have that as a record, not unlike all the Republican economic policy.
Pete, let's pass bills that will increase poverty, because poverty never leads to an increase in crime. Like, and and they will blame Mamdani or woke prosecutors and not the root causes, because the root causes take years to develop. And then it will be whatever Democrats in office, well, he did this and look at crime. And it's like, but but the root causes of these, like poverty, is much more an indicator of crime.
You can tie two of your favorite books together, Goldstones and Blitzen.
Oh, Jonathan Blitzer. What a book that was.
I would say this: desperation often breeds criminal behavior. Not always, but often it's the result. And one desperation would be having to leave your country for any number of reasons, maybe because you're being hunted by a gang and you criminally enter or legally enter and then criminally overstay your visa as a result of desperation. But we criminalize that kind of poverty. And
look at Haitians, as an example of, yes, we are removing your TPS status because it's perfectly safe to go back to Haiti. And then the State Department simultaneously is labeling Haiti the top level of dangerous, do not go there for Americans.
TPS, by the way, stands for temporary protected status, which you have to get.
In Office Space, they were filling out TPS reports. Nobody ever talks about how that was a big pro immigrant safety movie.
I did not know that.
Oh, you never saw that movie, did you?
I saw it, but I don't remember things.
Because I would always say, "Hello, Peter, what's happening?" And you'd be like, "What is that?" And I was like, "That's what Lumbergh says in Office Space."
I'm not a fucking freak like you are. I remember everything I ever saw, watched, listened to, heard. You're kind of brilliance or sickness. It could be an illness because you remember all the bad things too.
Yeah.
You can't get past the traumas and everything of a bad experience or song or movie.
Yeah, that's true. But hopefully I'll get past this because America's in a great place right now. I think we can agree on that at least.
Oh yeah, for sure. Before I let you go, Ken, making fun of someone's appearance is always fun. I'm happy to do it, especially when they're a bad person. I do want to just get way in, and maybe if you have, I haven't seen it. The Attorney General of Texas is a guy named Ken Paxton, and he's running for Senate. And he's.
Oh, I think I weighed in on this.
No, you
did like my post.
Oh, okay.
on Blue Sky or whatever.
Now I do remember it. Very funny joke. But
except he looks like Sloth from Goonies trying to look like Bill Belichick.
Yes. It's just these jokes are funny because sometimes the references are a little bit outside Lou Holtz and Bill Belichick to today, the football coaches. Not everybody knows who they are, but if you do, man, is it a great call.
Right.
A great joke. So what do you think about the news that this week he's running for Senate? He's a criminal. He's the corruptest of corrupt AGs.
He's awful. He's the worst person in Texas. Like Greg Abbott for all the things you can. Ken Paxton is like irredeemably bad.
Yeah,
he's just bad.
Super Christian nationalist, but more than anything else, just really corrupt. Like even if you're a Christian nationalist, you should hate him because he has no beliefs at all except for Ken Paxton. So now his wife has apparently realized that because he's committed some kind of a sin, a biblical compromise on their marriage, I guess. And I'm
shellfish. That's what my sources are telling me.
He ate shellfish. I was hoping it was 1,000 cocks.
No, I hope. But you know what makes me
or one?
Yeah, what makes me sad. A friend of mine wrote to me and said, "Grinder?" ? But what makes me sad about these things, it's the same way whenever somebody says, "You know what? I hope your son is gay." Like I hope your daughter dates a black guy, and I'm like
anti-gay or an anti-black racist.
Yeah. And then I'm like, but in this world, can we not subject the gay child or the black boyfriend to the racist morality play? Maybe they can somehow in this world that in your scenario, it's like, yeah, aren't you unhappy? But you know who else is unhappy in that scenario? The gay son or the black boyfriend.
I wouldn't. Yeah, but that's different than what we're wishing.
Oh, no, I know. I know, but I'm in a jokey way. I'm saying in this fantasy world where it's like, aren't you upset? Yeah, but they're probably going to make life terrible for that person that's upsetting.
Fair enough. Well, it's also, by the way, I didn't openly wish for Ken Paxton's transgressions to be against a child versus another adult, right?
Yeah.
Like, because it is also true that a lot of these people who position themselves as very virtuous around children and child abuse and just generally religious people. Right-wing religious people are constantly fucking children. And it's like an everyday thing where a man, quote, a man of the cloth, a Christian leader, is come to find out to be a child molester. And if only we could say, take the MAGA energy that is going after Epstein, after the thousands of run-of-the-mill, quote, pastors and men of the cloth throughout this country, wouldn't that be a nice place to live?
I am, as the resident Catholic in the community, I am of the opinion that it's sort of like purge the church. And if we have to go back to worshiping in like a rental office, so be it. If we can't have ornate things because we have to pay off so many abuse victims and close places, like it is one of those things where you just sort of think like, tear it down. If you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I know you know what I mean, but in terms of even as somebody who is a Catholic, it's sort of like, don't you want this shit purified?
Yeah.
Jesus would walk into a meeting where you're shuffling priests and he would turn over the table and condemn half of you to the, fiery flames of perdition. Like it wouldn't be, he could forget, there's forgiveness, but there's also this is wrong. This is, you cannot speak in my Father's name. You cannot pastor to people as this. And it seems to be, not to sound too much, I know there'll be at least some person on Twitter who follows you just to hate on you. And then when you post a clip of us, I'll see something like, you beta pieces of shit. But it does seem whenever you have organizations, as we do in so many places, that are just all male leadership, bad things happen. And that's not, I'm not breaking, this isn't breaking news.
I mean,
I'm just saying it seems to always be. It's like military, synagogue, Catholic Church, Boy Scouts.
Are you saying that you think we should put down the patriarchy? That's what I'm hearing.
Oh, no. I wouldn't go that far. No.
Now let's dial.
I mean, in day-to-day life, the patriarchy is great. I'm just saying in those bigger groups,
right,
it's bad.
Right.
Like in my home, when I speak, there is silence.
That kind of patriarchy.
That's good. That's good patriarchy.
Right. Is it matter that there's no one there?
We call that patrial right.
Does it matter that generally when you're home, there's no one else there?
Well, my female dog Cookie is here right now, sitting peacefully.
Glad that she respects the patriarchy.
Absolute respect. In fact, she comes from an old school kind of mindset where the male is the alpha.
Oh, look at this. The Marshall Project. Don't end broken windows policing. Fix it. Maybe you were right.
Well, I'm just saying that there was even if in theory, a sort of a theory that could theoretically work, but stop and frisk was really like you look suspicious, fella. And it just so happens that it's usually a black teenager or a brown teenager.
I appreciate you joining me and talking about all these things. I loved your latest episode of Rain on Your Parade.
Yeah, everybody subscribe where you listen to podcasts and or subscribe to my YouTube channel.
And I was going to save this for after because it might be too out of context or whatever, but I just laughed really hard when you did your Cuomo off the cuff and you said whatever he said, but then at the very end,
of course,
you just said ventilator because that's the word to get into the impression, but there was no place to place it.
Right.
So not that you just put at the end. I was alone listening and I just guffawed.
Well, like there was a comedian who used to just say hamburger after every punchline.
Oh, really?
And I would call, if he were a comic, I'd call him Ventilator Cuomo. And it would just be every joke would be like, you ever see a woman so fine, you break a hip? Ventilator.
Love it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for stopping by and watching live. There's a record number since I started going live a couple weeks ago, because mainly because of Twitter, because you shared it on Twitter. I'm sharing it on Twitter. So I guess maybe why are we still here on Twitter, given the fact that it's AI is Hitler?
Yeah, but maybe 1920s Hitler.
Oh,
before he got out of control.
I feel so much better now. Oh, that relieves me. I needed just the thinnest of reasons to stay. Thank you, my friend. I'm going to hit end.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your Sunday.
Bye.
On Sunday.